You're welcome back to Morning Express. Now let's have Petro Desmond Olariwaju, the president of the Nigerian Nexus, join us virtually. A very good morning to you, Petro. Thank you so much for finding the time to join us on the program.
Good morning, Chijuke. I feel great to be with you today.
NUPENG versus Dangote faceoff. We hear that the union is set to embark on a nationwide strike today, starting off today, Monday. Now, local oil marketers in the country, alongside other unions as well, have also backed NUPENG, with local marketers insisting that filling stations will remain closed until the matter is resolved. How do you react to this situation on ground?
First of all, this is a very critical national issue that demands our audience, our attention, and our voices. It is a critical issue because we are talking about one sector of the economy that's actually shaped a lot about our lives and about our economy. It is not something that we take with levity. The issue of petroleum is a very sensitive case as the country is concerned. And then the threat of close down of filling stations and suspension of their activities in respect to the failure of Dangote Group from allowing their staff from joining the NUPENG and some other union, and backed by NLC and some other quarters, is something that demands urgent attention. And I was happy when I was reading from the news yesterday. I saw the swift reaction by the Minister of Labor and Productivity, because it is not a new case. This issue have been lingering for quite a long time. But what I fail to understand is the fact that why is it that it is strike that should be the only way out of this issue? This is, as far as I'm concerned, if the strike allows to go on, then I believe that this is selfish on the part of NUPENG.
Now, Petro Desmond, having an industrial action of this nature or a strike of this nature is usually the last resort in ensuring that any union drives its demands home and gets what it is demanding for. Could it be that there might have been some conversations that have held prior to this, or some discussions that have held prior to this, in the back end that we are not privy to, and that has led to this outburst and now an outward decision to shut down filling stations and cripple all activities nationwide by NUPENG and its sister unions?
To the best of my knowledge and to the best of my understanding of the 1999 Constitution, Chapter 4 of the 1999 as amended, categorically states that every individual have the freedom of association. Now, if you dig deep, what is the root cause of this industrial action that is being threatened by NUPENG and sanctioning other filling stations from opening? It's because they wanted Dangote. And don't forget that Dangote is a private company. It is a company. And Dangote is saying that he is not in support of its staff from joining the union of the NUPENG. And then NUPENG, NLC, I know this issue has been lingering for quite a long time. The Minister of Labor has intervened some months back, but they couldn't reach compromise. And they feel or realize that now they have to embark on industrial action. What I'm saying is, it is not only arbitrary, but also it is unlawful for NUPENG to want to close down filling station from operation, because this is a private issue and they cannot compel anybody to join their union. That is what the Constitution says. So I believe that whether it is the first option or the last option or the only option in Nigeria for driving home their grievances. For me, I feel like the federal government should stand right now to prevent this strike, this industrial action, and
Now,
this threat.
I understand that Dangote is a private company and that it has the right, it reserves the right to decide whether or not it wants its staff members, particularly its drivers in this case, to join any union. But you would understand, or you would also agree with me, that the size, the sheer size and the importance of a company like Dangote in the oil and gas, the Dangote refinery in the oil and gas industry right now is not something to be trivialized. And if its drivers are not part of unions that regulate and ensure, orderliness within the sector, issues like this will definitely arise from time to time. The reason why these individuals or members of certain companies are tasked to ensure that they belong to unions is so that they can be controlled in a certain way that ensures law and order. That is the argument that NUPENG is bringing to the table. That is wrong. And that is the argument that individuals like the human rights lawyer Falana is also bringing to the table.
I beg to differ, Chijoke, from that.
Why so, Petroid Desmond?
First of all, NUPENG is a welfare organization that sees to the welfare of these petroleum workers, especially these tankers, drivers, and tankers owners. It is for the welfare, and also it's like a group of body that sees to the welfare. And for me, I have not really enjoyed the activities or the services we are getting from this union in Nigeria, because most of this union are not the reflection of what the society demands. It's most times they are demanding their own selfish interests, and most times they do not fight for the totality of the people or the sanity of the people. They are only a body because of their number and their influence. It is just a body that tend to use the number and use the sensitive aspect of their union, their organization, to negotiate.
I do not like the fact that you are trivializing
to pressure the government.
Petroid Desmond, you are trivializing the importance of unions like NUPENG. You are only stating this because this time around it is Dangote saying that its drivers should not join any union, including NUPENG. However, in situations where the drivers working in Dangote refinery now have a feud or have a problem with the company itself, where do they run to? I believe they will run to these welfare groups. I believe they will run to unions like NUPENG to help them out. So if at the end of the day, if they have problems, they will run to NUPENG. Why are they not being allowed to join these unions?
You see, I am not saying that we should root them out completely. I'm not saying that they do not have certain responsibility roles they play, not only to the employees, also to the country. They do have some level of role they play. But what I'm saying is that they shouldn't allow their interest to supersede that of national interest. And that is my position this morning. I am not against NUPENG, and I'm not against anybody who wishes to join any organization. And I know to a large extent that this body can also be a savage when these employees are being confronted with some issues within their organization. But what I'm saying is that embarking on national strike shouldn't be the issue, because of the effect, the impact, and the damage it will cause to the country economy. That is where I am standing. They shouldn't allow their selfish drive to actually impair the nation, to impair the country. Do you know what it means when filling stations are shut down? Do you know the pains and the hardship that it will have on the people? And that is the challenge.
Well, Petra Desmond, as a result of what Dangote is doing, and as a result of what it is asking its drivers not to do, this is almost as if you're saying that not all teachers should join the NUT, not all journalists should join the NUJ. You know, not all doctors should be part of NAD, and you know, all of those things. These are unions that are there for a reason. These are unions that are there for checks and balances. They are there for regulation. They are there for
No, no,
welfare.
please, do not get it.
If we allow
Do
Dangote,
not.
if these unions allow Dangote to
Okay.
go through with this, it would also affect other sectors. You would agree with me?
No, no. Please, I think there is a gap. There is a large gap between those comparisons you are giving. When you talk about the NUJ, you
Okay.
talk about NUT, and you talk about MBA. This is a professional and well-organized body. Now, over the years, what has NUPENG done in terms of sensitization, in terms of equipping these drivers with the right skills, in terms of providing welfare? Look at the number of accidents on our road. Would you at any point remember that we have NUPENG? And let me also use similar scenarios for comparison. For example, when you're talking about NUPENG, you are also talking about NU, HUTW, HUETAN. Those are the kind of NATO, those are the kind of groups you should compare NUPENG with. And then looking at the role that NURTW plays in terms of the coordination of driving, would you say you are satisfied with the conduct and the behavior of our drivers in the country? Would you say you are also satisfied with the role the agberos played on the street? These are just informal organizations, and this association has not really played the major role in terms of the welfare, the sensitization. I'm only seeing these organizations I put in the same category as group trying to, exploit situation, not for the benefit of the country, but for selfish aggrandizement and for political negotiations.
Now, mind you, sometime last week, it was announced that the federal government had removed subsidy on CNG, and the price had, doubled, or almost doubled, all across the country. Now, the bone of contention here between Dangote Refinery and NUPENG is the decision of Dangote to distribute CNG via its distribution subsidiary. That's the MRS now. Now, while to recruit drivers for these trucks that will distribute CNG, it is asking the drivers not to join any union. Dangote Refinery, or the Dangote Group itself, has been accused several times of monopolizing different sectors, different industries, be it the sugar industry, cement, whatever it is. There is that allegation of monopoly hovering over its head. Now, with this decision, is this a further show of impunity by the Dangote Group, or even the Dangote Refinery in this situation, to ensure that it does whatever it wants without being accountable? That is my argument here, Petroid Desmond. That is what we are looking at.
First of all, don't forget that there is a grand norm that actually guides everyone's behavior, including companies and businesses in Nigeria. And with or without association or groups, there are laws that governs every businesses in this country. There are roles and responsibility that is defined by our constitution. And we have bodies, we have agencies of government, we have ministries that are responsible to ensure that the letters in our grand norm and constitution are followed to the letter, which means that no organization that is lawful and law-abiding in our country can exercise this impunity that you're saying because of maybe their monopoly or because of the role they are playing in the economy. So I want to see Dangote as a lawful organization that cannot in any way go against the laws that guides the oil sector, the laws that guides employer, the law that defines the role of employer to his employee and employees to employer. So first of all, do not remove the position of our law. These associations, this union, they are just groups of individuals that comes together mostly are not actually, their activities and roles are not defined in our constitution, but where they derive their power from is the fact that the constitution provides in chapter 4 of the 1999 constitution as amended that they have rights to association, and that is where they enjoy. Why they enjoy that aspect of law of law defined to them by the constitution, Dangote also enjoys so many other laws from the CAMA, from the company allied matters that guides the affairs of businesses and defines the role of employer to his employee. But the point is this: while we're talking about NUPENG, haven't you thought of some of the role, some of this association? Let me use Barbers Association. Barbers Association, I will give you an example. There is this rural area that I usually go sometimes to barb my hair, and then suddenly I used to barb my hair there for about 1,500 and 2,000 if they are doing some treatment on my hair. I went there some other time and I realized that their price has changed drastically from the 2,000 naira benchmark to 5,000 naira. And that barber that usually cut my hair told me that it is beyond his power, that ordinarily he would have collected 2,000, but he won't be able to collect 2,000 from me because of the association. That the association
and is that wrong? Is that wrong for business? He is part of the association for a reason. If tomorrow his customers come and say, oh, we don't want you to cut our hair for 2,000 naira, cut it for 1,000 naira or even 500 naira, where would he refer the matter to?
You don't get the point.
The Barbers Association, of course.
The Barbers Association, I'm just using that as an example that the only good some of this association offers to the people is that they increase the price and they further inconvenience the people. Why you want to inconvenience the people? I expect that you also have certain values. Why not you telling me that these services I am enjoying, these good things I'm enjoying is as a result of the association, and it's coming from the increment that the association plays on their charges. What I'm saying is that there is no proper balance. Most of this association you see in this country, Nigeria, sincerely, they beat my understanding as regards welfare to the people. Most of these associations are only self-centered for selfish interest and self-aggrandizement, and not for the growth of the people. Just like every other association, most other associations in this country, they are not coming together for the country, and that is why they've not spoke against bad things. I've not heard when this association speaks against the policies of government. I have not heard them coming together to challenge certain policies, certain decisions and directions of government. Most times they only make news round when they're having demands, and that shouldn't be. It shouldn't be. Nigeria should be Nigerians, irrespective of where you belong and the association you are. You should be patriotic and let that patriotism reflect in the entity, in that organization. And that is what I'm advocating for. I'm not saying that Dangote should not associate. Dangote staffs shouldn't be allowed to associate. But that decision to embark on strike, for me, it is totally wrong. It is not for national interest. It is for selfish interest.
Well, Pedro Desmond, let's still talk about the effect, whatever it is, adverse effects of this planned strike on the ordinary Nigerian. Filling stations will remain closed until the issue is resolved, whether it is resolved today or resolved in the next 1 month. The brunt of the matter lies on the backs of motorists or Nigerians who require these petroleum products to run their daily lives. How much of an impact will this have on Nigerians?
I'm just concerned about the innocent drivers that may be attacked by some Nigerians. For many years, Nigerian people have this animosity against the tanker drivers. They believe that some of them are not well trained, some of them are selfish, and some of these people are so reckless. And then when this issue escalates and bites hard on the common people, you see that the Nigerian people will react. And I wouldn't want the innocent drivers that do not know when the leadership of NUPENG is embarking on meeting and enjoying the legacy from the union dues and some of the fees that is accrued to them from some of the bodies they belong to. You know, it is only the few leadership of this, that is my problem. The problem is that only few members of this organization actually enjoy the benefit of some of those associations. And that is why you see that the drivers, most drivers do not even know. Stop most drivers, most tanker drivers today and ask them what is happening. Some of them will tell you they don't know. Some of them are not informed, not educated, not aware about the existence of this NUPENG. You see, it is just this same bourgeoisie in this society that feels like they want to actually force their way through that is behind some of these things. And then the effect is going to be catastrophic because it's going to affect businesses, it's going to affect livelihood, it will change the face of Nigeria because Nigeria economy depends largely on petrol and petrol-related activities. So the effect, I don't even want to imagine it. The price of transportation would triple. The cost of moving from one place to another the cost would be tripled. The pains that Nigerians will go through in the next, because a lot of small businesses, you know, Nigeria business is backed by the MSME, this medium scale and medium enterprises. And then most of these businesses support their business because of the dilapidated electricity we have in the country. They run their businesses with this petrol, with diesel. Only few people depends on CNG. And this will have adverse effect on the economy. And that is what I want us to talk about. And that is what I want us to look at this morning. And that is why we need, as a people, to stand against this industrial action by this NUPENG and their leadership.
Now, a recent report had revealed a sharp and massive decline in, the consumption of petroleum products in Nigeria. I believe we have had this conversation here on this discussion here on the program with you, Petra Desmond, and not disputing the fact that a lot of Nigerians are gradually finding or turning their attention to other sources of energy generation, of course, CNG, solar panels, and the rest. But with this issue again, are Nigerians still going to move a little bit further away from petroleum products and find other sources of energy generation? Because it appears that the oil and gas industry is bedeviled by a lot of woes.
It is not something that happens so fast. You know how many years it took us before we got to where we are. You saw the intervention by former President Muhammadu Buhari, and you have seen some effort made by this government led by President Bola Ahmed Tinubu as regarding shifting people's mind from the use of petrol, fossil fuel and all that for generation of energy and all that. So it is something that will take a while. It's not something that will happen so sharp. The decline you saw is not that over 75% of businesses and livelihood in Nigeria today are still supported by this petrol. Now, don't be deceived by that ratio you see last week that there is declination there is a reduction, a large reduction from the use of petrol, consumption of petrol in Nigeria. And that is because of diversion. You know, most African countries, especially in West Africa, they prefer to buy their petroleum. Do you know how many fuel, millions of fuel that is being smuggled out of Nigeria every day during the era of subsidy? And because of the subsidy removal, I talked about this last week. So that had contributed. And the CNG, the presidential CNG initiatives, as well as renewable energy, solar car, the introduction of solar car is still trying to find its footing in Nigerian society. And only few members of our society depends on CNG, solar energy, and some other alternative energy. Meanwhile, majority of our businesses still depends on petroleum. And it is my prayer that the president and the government of the Federal Republic of Nigeria puts more energy and effort in trying to divert or convert most of the usual or the traditional ways we do business and the way we depend on the petroleum to renewable energy, because globally the world is turning their back at petrol, the fossil energy, to renewable energy, and then I wouldn't want that to caught us unaware. So I believe that it's a good move for us to look inwardly to see how we can divert our attention from the use of petroleum, and with so many issues that is surrounding petroleum. And let me tell you, the reason why a lot of issues surrounds petroleum, you see that these bourgeoisies, they always find their way to always look for the money, and you don't see them pay attention to other sector of the economy. Their attention is focused on petroleum because that is where the money, quick money, usually comes from. Why don't we have a strong association that backs the agricultural sector? Why don't we have strong association that backs the employment, that backs, technology, innovation, and other?
Of course, in terms of employment, we have the NLC already doing that.
Associations surrounding petroleum is because of quick money and for selfish interests.
Petra Desmond, earlier when I made mention of the removal of subsidy on CNG products in the country, you didn't react properly to it. Now, mind you, the federal government also came out to say that there was no subsidy on CNG in the first place. Now, I have two questions for you. If the federal government says that there was no subsidy on CNG in the first place, what informed the double or the increase in price to almost double the initial price that Nigerians were buying it for? Then secondly, if the government is encouraging Nigerians to move towards CNG, and you already have this problem with the issue currently bedeviling, the petroleum industry in terms of PMS now that we are seeing, where do Nigerians run to? Because they can't afford to purchase fuel with peace of mind, and the CNG that was a better alternative is now becoming too expensive.
That's quite unfortunate. And then I think the government needs to be sincere to itself in order to provide good governance and leadership. What you say there is lack of and lack of vision for the country. It has always been a norm in this part of the world that whatever you see that the people consume more, the government always finds their way to see how they can, take advantage of that economy. You see, the whole thing is not a it's very simple to understand our economy. Remember when attentions aren't paid on toll.
Hello, Pedro Desmond.
When attention shifted to kerosene, the price skyrocketed. Now, at the time in this country where few Nigerians use vehicles, I'm giving you background now, I'm giving you history. Few Nigerians use petrol. You see that the price is moderate and convenient for people to use. The moment the focus of our economy, that's still it's a pointer to tell you the direction of our economy. Anywhere our economy moves, that is where you see the government want to take advantage of. That is to tell you that our government is quite lazy. Our government are not creative enough. You don't kill one sector because of over-dependence on that sector. And that is what is affecting our economy. Nigerian government needs to expand its tentacles. You need to expand Almost every aspect of our lives, you need to invest in it and make money from it. You see, government always look for where to make money. And that is why you see that when government realize that a lot of people are now on board on the CNG, they are now craftily, intelligently, increasing the cost of the purchase or the price template on the CNG. I could remember before now that CNG is sold at about 130, 140, and at some point it was increased to 240. And right now that I am hearing about the removal of subsidy, you see that the price would also have gone up. And the reason is because governments are always interested in maximizing profit, always looking for where to make money, and that is the nature of our economy.
But Petra, isn't profit making the sole purpose of any business? And in this case, the NNPC Limited is now a profit making venture for the federal government and Nigerians in general.
Good. It's not good. It is not good. You have to look at the environment. You have to look at Nigeria. You have to understand that a lot of people depends on petroleum. I'm not saying it is not good to privatize the NNPC, although not fully privatized. It has now become a business center with the purpose of making money. But do not forget that whatever happens in that sector creates a ripple effect on the totality of the Nigerian economy. And that is why driving this limited, this NNPCL, you need to also put into consideration the livelihood of the people, considering that a lot of businesses depends. And here we're crying and talking about inflation. Why are we where we are today? The reason why we are here today is not because of the capitalization. It's not because of the capitalization policy of the federal government. It's not because of unification of the exchange rate, but because of the removal of subsidy. Because of that created ripple effects and affected every aspect of Nigeria's life. And ever since then till now, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's government have been trying to fight hard to see how they can beat down inflation. And then it was difficult for government to achieve in 2 years and still going because of the impact of petroleum on our economy. I tell you today, if petroleum price returns to 197 or 210 as the case may be, even 500 naira as the case may be, you see that the struggle that this government is going through every day to see that they create a balance in our economy, that struggle will automatically disappear and things will come back to status quo. So we already know the direction of our economy. And then what I'm only saying is that why businesses were set up with the singular purpose of making profits, we have to look at the sensitivity of the oil sector and see how we can guide it in a way that the ripple effect it will create on our economy will not be catastrophic, and that which will affect our economy.
Well, Petra Desmond, I think we can lay the oil and gas industry cigar to rest. Let's move on to another issue of concern in the country. That's insecurity bedeviling the nation, particularly in the northern part of Nigeria. Sometime last week, we saw the Northern Elders Forum asking the president to declare a state of emergency on insecurity in the north. And just recently, another statement came out saying that the worsening insecurity situation in the north is simply unacceptable. Mind you, some youth in Sokoto had also last week said that if the federal government is not ready to provide security and protect their lives and property, they are ready and willing to pick up arms. The situation is a little bit complicated. But what are your thoughts exactly on this worsening security situation in the country?
You know, as a member of Nigeria Peace Index, There is a group in the country, if you must know, it's called Nigeria Peace Index. As a member, in 2013, we did a survey in Nigeria where we look at the indicators why many states in the countries are likely going to be peaceful, and why some states won't enjoy some peace. We look at certain factors, because when you just mention the word insecurity or security as a concept, it is the wrong understanding or interpretation of security as a concept that is affecting our fight against insecurity. You see, you cannot overcome security challenges when you pay attention to certain factors, like the level of incarceration, our justice systems, our welfare. If you don't look at the welfare, you don't look at the education level, you don't focus on the employability level, you don't look at the ecosystem, the SME sector, you find out that the level of insecurity will be biting hard every day. You see, insecurity on its own did not just occur. There are factors that have culminated and resulting into that. In the north, east, northwest, or north central, as the case may be, one of the best way you can fight insecurity is not confrontation. It's not this warfare. It is not the conventional. You have to go unconventional to overcome this level of insecurity. You have to look at justice system. You have to look at, very importantly, the education system. You have to look at the population. You have to look at youth budge. You have to look at the level of young people who are gainfully employed. You have to look at the social package, the social welfare package of a government to the people. Do not forget that Nigeria's population sits at about 240 million, 240 million people, as estimated by NBS. And then without number, and we calculated it, and we arrived at about the country's total population, about 65 to 70% of that population is youth population. What does it tell you? In a country where we have about 100 million people, when you have 100 million young people, and majority of these numbers are not well educated or educated at all, where majority of these populations are indulging in criminality, in the use of drugs, because of what? Because of lack of productivity, no job, no education, no job. You see that this insecurity is not spiritual. Security itself is not spiritual. There are factors you put together to achieve a secure environment. It is not just about setting up police station. It's not just about equipping our military. You can't fight insecurity with the military. You can't fight insecurity with the police. You can only fight insecurity by focusing on converting some of the natural resources, evenly distribution of our resources. That is one. Ensuring that you create a robust policy framework that employs the young people and give the young people the sense of belonging and sense of nationality of Nigeria. You also have to look at our incarceration level. You have to look at our justice system. A situation whereby the rich can buy judgment. You cannot have peace in that country where people.
Petro Desmond, if you can hear me, we have just about 2 minutes to wrap up the conversation. In recent times, the defense headquarters has boastfully come out to state that their operations all over the country, particularly in the northwestern part of the country, has neutralized a lot of bandits, leaders, and all of that, even in the northeast. But just recently, we saw an attack in the northeastern state of Borno. that claim the lives of citizens and civilians and soldiers alike. The Northern elders are demanding for a total overhaul of the military leadership in Nigeria. In a few minutes, I just want to get your take on this before we wrap up the discussion on the program.
For me, I don't see that being the problem. The total overhaul of military leadership in the North, I don't see that as a problem. Well, if they have credible information, if they have good information and logical reasoning to that, I think if that will solve the problem. But I doubt if replacement of the leadership of the Nigerian army, the military heads, will solve the problem of insecurity. In the first place, it is not that the Nigerian military aren't doing enough. The reason for these killings, banditry, and killings in the north is not as a result of the lackadaisical behavior of military. The militaries, you have to give them their flowers. They are doing well. The Nigerian military are really doing well. We have seen valiant soldiers. We have seen great soldiers dying, laying their lives for this country. So we cannot politicize the insecurity. This is just politicizing insecurity in the north. And that is the truth.
Petro Desmond, I wish we had more time to converse, but I'm afraid we would have to wrap up the conversation right now. We must thank you so much. It's been wonderful having this discussion with you on the program. Hoping to see you again next week, Monday, for more in-depth analysis on Morning Express.
The pleasure is always mine.